do roll call. Jerry Romero, present. Lori Sorrells. Vincent Perez. Mike Rosales.
Here.
Gary Gondra. Chuck Taylor.
Here.
Ben Morales. Al Velarde.
Here.
Joyce Wilson.
Here.
Okay, we do have a quorum. We will go ahead and now do Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. On the Texas flag, I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Please remain standing. We're going to go ahead and do recognition for an employee.
Yes, we have a recognition for Felipe Guzman. He's been a employee of the appraisal district for 20 years. He started out as a math teacher, but I guess that was too easy for him. He needed something a little bit harder, a little challenging. He started out as an appraiser, and he's now one of our head litigators in our litigation department. So Felipe, all of us?
Yes. Congratulations. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Yeah, we got to prove that this happens. You know, people do stay this long. Thank you, Felipe.
I would also like to welcome Mr. Chuck Taylor to the board. Mr. Taylor's from the EPISD group, and he will be replacing Trent Hatch. So thank you for joining us today. All right, moving on to public comment. Is there any public comment?
Mr. Chairman, there is no public comment, and I do need to let the board know that our attorney is online via conference call. If there's any legal issues, Veronique Hutchinson is available.
All right, thank you. Moving on to tab item 3, approval and signing of the minutes from August 17, 2017 meeting. Ms. Wilson makes a motion to approve the minutes. Is there a second?
Second.
We have a second by Mr. Velarde. Any further discussion? All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Moving on to tab item 4, review and approval of financial reports for July of 2017.
Good evening, Rosa Goldman, Chief Financial Officer. We are presenting the financial report for the month of July, and the report contains the balance sheet, report of revenues, expenditures, and changes in cash balance, investment report, and the note in financial report. On the note in financial report, we see that we have one account over budget. It's the supplemental and temporary help by $1,291. And the reason is due to some retiree vacancies that we are filling with supplemental help, with temporary help. Under the encumbered funds, the litigation reserve has a balance of $116,649 from the original or the beginning reserve of $800,000. The strategic plan reserve has a balance of $21,261. Are there any questions?
Any questions on the budget?
Mr. Chairman, if we can get a motion on this one, I appreciate it.
Give them a few minutes to go over it.
Oh, okay, sorry.
It's okay.
I'm jumping the gun here.
That was quick. Can I ask a couple of questions?
Sure.
Velarde?
Looking at some big parentheses here.
Okay.
Legal fees. So we have assets, we have a variance of $178,000, and then legal fees, $682,000.
Yes, if you look at the last two line items of the same report, you have a minus on top and a plus on top, on the bottom,
Okay,
on both. The 178,000 and the 683. So basically that's a zero out with a minus and a plus. And the reason is because we use monies from the reserve to cover those. So we show how we went over budget, but then how we
Cover it with
we
reserve.
cover it. Uh-huh.
but now is that money going to be put back into reserve?
It was already, so the next page, if you look at the next page, it's already there, how it was taken out of the 800,000.
That's a discussion item we'll have further in the
We're
agenda.
talking about, like, do we want to replenish any of the funds?
It's agendized as an encumbered to come up, to bring before the board to see if they would like to put more money into it.
You know, hold on.
Are there any other questions? I'll entertain a motion to approve the financials as presented.
So
So
moved.
moved. We have a motion by Mr. Rosales. Is there a second? Second by
second.
Ms. Wilson. Is there any further discussion? All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Moving on to tab item 5, the monthly health benefits and dental insurance plan report for August.
Is the next page, and as of August 31st, we have a balance of $624,119.
Can I ask a question? On the claims paid, are they by month, or is that cumulative?
It's cumulative.
So for the year through August, you've had 97,000?
No, the 97 is just
No,
for the
monthly, I'm
month.
sorry,
It's
yes,
just
those
for
are
that
monthly,
month.
yes.
Yes.
Okay, so, all right. But if you added those up, those would be your total claims for the year?
Yes, well,
Yes.
from if you look at the previous balance, say the 635,000, what we do is we adopt the deposit, the 86,000, and we deduct the claims paid, 97,000, and this gives us a balance of
Okay.
624.
Where does this put us in comparison to last year at the same time? Do you know?
Better than last year.
Better than last year?
Yeah, definitely.
We'll do a report in November on the status of the health plan and how it's working with the employees and with the different vendors, the doctors, and the response time. We'll give you guys a report in November on that.
I've got a question. Is this the norm, the 600,000, or?
This is a very healthy, at
Yeah,
one
it looks
point,
like
we
it.
were down to around 30,000. And we were struggling, and we built it back up, and we're in with a new plan. And so we're back to where we were before the bad year.
But
So
it
this
is in
is
a
very good.
sound position.
Yes,
That's what I'm
very
wondering.
solid position.
Any other questions? All right, moving on. Let the record reflect that Mr. Gondeta joined us at 5:11. Moving on to tab item number 6, discussion and possible action regarding a resolution to encumber funds for the litigation reserve.
Board members, what I'd like to go over again is, if we remember right, back in 2014, we created a litigation reserve after we got confirmation from the Attorney General opinion that we were allowed to do that. So we created that. We put $600,000 in there originally, and then last year we encumbered another $200,000. We have spent in the litigation reserve and the litigation line item over $1 million for reports for attorneys. And so what we would like to do, since we are down to 116, we still have 2 months left in this year. We've already used up, the prior board only put $330,000 in our line item budget. That was used up already. So we have been using the reserve for all of this. So what we'd like to do, my recommendation to the board would be to put $400,000 starting October 1 of our new budget year into that reserve. And our budget process this year, the board was very gracious in giving us $485,000 in our line item, 465, sorry, into our line item. So then that would give us availability of $865,000 that we could use towards any lawsuits that are coming up. Last month, I did give you a report for 2017 of all of the larger companies that signed off on waivers. And of course, the refinery signed off on a waiver for 17. But what we are seeing, and we are seeing it, it's kind of the attorneys are seeing an easy way to make money, and so they're suing on a lot of the smaller accounts, and they're going before the judges and getting attorney's fees, anywhere from $10,000 to $25,000 in attorney's fees. So we still want to keep a very healthy account. I believe that a lot of the waivers we received this year was because they do know that we did have the funding. So that would be my recommendation to the board. It is subject to the board's decision on if they want to continue to fill that in. Right now, we're looking at close to $900,000 of unspent funds coming from the contingency fund, coming from payroll that we didn't spend, coming from our operations that will be going back to the entities. So we have the funds in there to continue to keep a very healthy reserve in litigation. Yes, sir.
Go back with you started at 400,000, then you said 800,000.
We
Walk me through that one.
well, in 2014, we started the reserve with 600,000, and then in the last budget, we had used some of it, but we put in another 200,000. So we ended up with a total of 800,000 that you see in the financial report. Everything that has come out of that. So now what we've got is we've got a balance in there of about 116,000. We still have 2 months left in this year. And then, of course, going forward, so we would like to kind of build it back up again with additional, at least 400,000.
Where can I see
Where's
that
the
balance?
budget?
Is it in here?
When does the budget start? I thought it was
Yes, if you look on
October
your
1.
financials
That's a week.
statement,
That's 2 weeks.
the last
You
page,
meant 2 weeks.
Dinah,
yes,
our budget starts October 1.
October 1.
So we have 2 weeks
2 weeks,
left.
not 2 months.
Yeah, right, but we haven't gotten all the bills and everything from the last 2 months.
Okay, so you basically have accruals that you still need to pay.
Right, right.
So I guess my question is, because I can't tell from this, unless I'm not reading it right. So you have transferred all but 117,000 out of your reserve for this year.
Right.
So that's all you have left.
Right. And we had,
But
we'd
in
already,
the money that you put into legal fees, are you projecting you're going to spend all of that?
the 400,000 if we put into that?
No, that what's in there now for the current year?
Oh, the
is it-
116, that's
No,
left over?
you have 683,000.
No,
680.
Have you spent all your legal fees for
Yes.
the year?
yes.
The budget was 330,000, and that one is gone.
That was
His-
that's your line.
That's the line
back
item.
up.
Right.
330 was your line item in your
Right.
budget.
for the
And
budget.
then
Right.
800,000 was the additional reserve.
The reserve.
Have you spent all of that?
Yeah,
Oh, that was spent,
The reserve too?
oh, no, the
yes, well, not all.
reserve, we spend it all up to, what we have left in the reserve is 116. We have 0 in the line item
But
on the
where is the
budget.
money coming from that you want to transfer back into the reserve?
My question.
From this year's.
Overages,
Is it from like the surplus of that
Yes.
you're not going to spend?
right.
And where are those savings again?
Those savings are in the
Contingency
in the
primary.
contingency fee, that we have money there. In our operations, certain contracts that we were able to get them to not charge us so much. Surplus in, well, we're looking at between about 850,000 to 900,000.
But where is it coming from? Is it, I mean, I see over here where you have a variance from actual to budget.
Right.
But I'm not sure, like, I mean, since this is only through July, that we still have 2 months. I'm just trying to figure out, like,
Well, and a lot of it is kind of guesswork, because to encumber funds by the state code, we have to do it before our budget year begins, which is October 1. So that's why we won't have actual numbers. But here again, if we don't spend, what has happened in the past, when we first tried to put some money aside for a lawsuit about 10 years ago with Western Refinery, when it wasn't spent, it was settled, we then gave that back to the entities. So it goes back to the entities.
so
as
you
an
have almost $1
overage.
million that you feel you're going to have left over, like 900,000. Is
Your
that what you're
estimate,
saying?
your
Well, to be more conservative, probably closer to 800,000.
And so you want to take half of that and put it into the legal reserve, and then the rest goes back to the jurisdictions?
Right,
Is that what you're
Right,
proposing?
yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
If we were looking at this on the July 7th.
Well, yeah.
You're looking at this July number, so you basically had $3.3 million in excess, is that correct?
3.3, yes, as of July.
And
Oh,
you're
sorry.
estimating that by the end of October, it's gonna be down to about $900,000 to $800,000 more or less.
Right.
But this is revenue over expenditures.
No, I understand, I'm just trying to, her question was, where's the money coming from?
Right, and
I
that's
guess
what-
it would be really helpful, just for the next time, if you want to do this, if you could lay out like a projection.
Yeah.
So we could, I mean, 'cause
Based on
it's
anticipated
really hard, I
expenses.
mean, I'm looking at this and it's kind of hard to follow. But if you could just say, like, here's projected revenues for the ending balance for the year, expenditures, surplus, so we could kind of get a sense of where it's coming from. Because it's hard to tell from here, like, I don't know if there's like 2 months' worth of expenses in some of these accounts. But, I mean, I'm fine making a motion to transfer half of whatever the reserve is
Well,
up to 400,000, and then the rest go back to the jurisdictions.
But I have a question, because I'm taking a look at the budget. You said we had, the actual budget for the legal fees was 330,000?
Right.
We spent through July 1 million.
Right.
Okay. My question is, were we prepared for that?
Yes. Because we had the reserve.
Western.
Understood, Western,
Yeah.
but if we were going to spend it, and I guess this is where I'm confused, if we knew we were going to spend it, why did we leave it in a reserve and not just budget it out?
Oh, no, because what we originally had thought about, this goes back a couple years, was that we had such a small amount of legal fees, we started building up a
They
reserve.
built the reserve. so
Because
you
we
could
had not
transfer.
gone into litigation with any of the major property players, so we wanted to build up that reserve so that we could do that. We didn't want to put it all in the budget, because if we didn't use it, you have to take it out anyhow. So we wanted to make sure that you had enough money for them to do the day-to-day legal stuff, and then start building up that reserve so we could take action. Mr. Gondeta had
As
something.
a reserve, you can
It's
carry
kind of
over
a most
every
of it,
year
but
if
the
you don't
reason-
use it.
The reason for it was because they would see the budget and how much money we had for legal, so they know we only had a certain amount of money. So if they got us to spend all that money, we were just
We were done.
it was-
We were
it
done.
was
They're not seeing the reserve side.
Well, no, we were
No,
settling.
no,
we
that
were
was the
settling
reason
the
before,
cases.
because we're just settling the case, because they knew as soon as our budget was done on legal, we were pretty much
We had no
done with
money
it.
then to fight it,
to
so they
fight
were.
it. So that was the reasoning that we had that reserve, so that there was the money to do
So every
it.
year you budget a legal reserve just in case, but you don't budget as part of operations.
Yeah, it's more of a,
Then you can just
strategic-
roll it out.
And one of the things that the
more of a
board,
deterrent.
one of the things the board
Knowing that
directed
we
us
were
to
gonna fight.
do
We were
was
gonna
we
take it.
had to use the line item first
Yeah.
and make it a zero balance
Before you tap
before
in.
we could tap into the reserve.
Then we would
No,
only
that
take
makes
what we
perfect
needed.
sense to me. The only question, well, the heartache that I have is are we budgeting the right amount? Because this is monies, then otherwise it should go back to the entities.
Well, we had never.
Well,
Al, this
we
had never
increased
been
it a
done in the
lot this
past.
year.
That was a problem. We had never done this in the past, so we didn't know how much money we would need, especially knowing that we had multiple year lawsuits hanging out there. So
Besides, we
this was
settled
a test case
Westerns.
more
This
than
was a
anything.
test
Western's
case,
out of the
yeah.
way.
That's
Yeah,
the big
fine.
one.
Right, and this was a test case. And before, one of the things in this budget is you guys did give us more money. You gave us 465,000 in the actual budget
If you
itself.
have that plus,
Right.
and you build this back up, you'd have over $1 million.
We'd have close, right, which would cover what, now, prior to boards that were cutting everything, we did have 500,000 in our line item in our budget. And then they started slashing that, and we got down to 330. And that's when we came back to the board, said, at the end of that year after the budget, and said, can we start a reserve? Because we knew there was no way we could fight any of these big lawsuits. And so by having that, we feel like we've done really well in getting companies to sign off on waivers, because they know, like Mr. Gondeta said, they now know we have that because our reserve is public. I mean, the information's in there. Our financial statement is posted, so you know.
Mr. Gondeta has a question.
Ms. Kilgore, quick question. Do you foresee us having the same issues with Western now that it's under a new owner, or do you see it as we're going to start getting along better now?
I'll be honest with you, as an initial meet and greet that we've had with them, I do perceive us having a better working relationship, a better business relationship with them going forward. It's a whole different group. They handle so much of their stuff in-house. I do foresee that, but we're going into kind of unknown territory. I'm waiting to see what happens for 2018. So I'm not sure. I don't want to put myself so tight that if it does happen, but we've had very good conversations. I met with them again in the end of August. We met again and had a very good conversation. We'll be meeting with them in October. They're going to come out and do a tour that we'll be invited to, actually see the plant.
Oh, wow.
So far, yes, I do foresee us as having a better working relationship with
And
the
if
refinery.
I could just add to this was the test case year. This is where we figured, if we're gonna use this money, we're gonna use it this year. So even though we may have $800,000 total in the line item and the reserve, if we don't use that, that's gonna give us a better indication on what we do the following year.
And I'm good with that if we're still testing it out, but in the end, I know that I'm getting questions asked.
Right. Well, and it'll go back
District
to,
as to how much.
right. And after this year, if we see that we didn't even touch it, then we can lower it, give money back to the entities. We can go from there. But I mean, spending $1
Trying
million.
to benchmark what we really need to have in
Right.
there.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I mean, I think we should rebuild it. It's only
I think so,
116,000,
too.
so.
Yeah.
So you want a motion up to 400,000? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I would like to take out of the funds
The
that are being
balance?
400,000.
Available?
I make a motion.
I'll second.
We have a motion by Mr. Rosales, seconded by Ms. Wilson. Is there any further discussion? All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Moving on to tab item 7, discussion possible action regarding a resolution to encumber funds towards the TCDRS unfunded liability.
Right. And we put this in just to go over with the board. We're under the Texas County District's retirement system, and currently we have an unfunded liability of 77.3%, which is not a bad number. We just went into this about 8 years ago, so it's a healthy plan. What we were looking at and wanting to talk to the board about is maybe taking some of these funds and upping that amount, doing a lump sum payment. A lot of districts and counties and water districts will do that, and then it ups that unfunded liability. Say, for an example, if we were to put in $200,000 as a lump sum, our ratio for this coming year, this year right now, would be almost 82% instead of 80%. For the next 3 years, we'd be in the 84 to 88%. Your 80s are a very strong, very healthy percentage for a retirement plan. So I just wanted to bring it up for the board for discussion and see what the board's thoughts are on this.
So Dinah, when you talk about 80%, all those that are,
Yeah, we've got the no change, and we've got like 200,000. Rosa
So I guess my
calculated.
question is, why didn't we have a conversation during the budget about just increasing the contribution? So doesn't the employer make a contribution?
We're at the max. We're already contributing 7%, which is the max.
Max, you can contribute?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. That's the employees are contributing 7%. That's the max.
Well, what about
And
the
then
employer?
our percentage is based on the rates that they give us. And right now we're at 10.26, I believe, is what we're contributing. And they tell us how much we can contribute in the plan.
so back to my original question. So the 80, I'm just gonna use 80% as an example. If everybody that participates were to get all their benefits, we would only be able to cover 80% of them.
If everybody were to retire today, yes, sir.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah.
That's what it is?
Yeah.
Okay.
One sheet is not changed, the way things are right now. The other is if we did the 200,000 lump sum, how things will be.
We just thought we'd bring this, kind of give the board an idea of where we are. We're very healthy. At the end of this year, we will be at the end of December of 17, we'll be at 80.2%. So we do have a healthy plan. We just thought we'd bring this to the board for discussion and direction.
So I'm kind of anxious about not returning any of the surplus back. I mean, we're taking half of it and putting it into the legal fund. My question is, could you take 100,000 out of the health fund since you've got such a strong reserve and move that?
Once it's in the health fund, it has to stay in the health
Does?
fund.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm looking at this, Dinah, and I'm just wondering along Joyce's line of thinking. In 2016, you're going to be at 95%. You're going to be at 96 if you take $200,000. It's not that big of a difference.
It's not.
No, it's not.
But I'm with you. I think.
I'd rather wait a year
Yeah.
Okay.
and see like what happens with the legal next year.
Right.
And then if we have some funds from the contingency and elsewhere, then we can make a contribution.
Next year? Okay. We can look at
I
that
just
with
don't
the
want to
legal.
use the whole, I mean,
No, I agree with you. I think that especially with the numbers that I'm looking at here.
it's
if
not
you're
that
gonna be
dramatic,
far
yeah.
apart,
Well, and maybe what we can do, Rosa and I talked
It's like about a 2 percentage point difference.
Rosa and I also talked about building into the strategic plan, maybe something regarding the healthcare as we go forward. So,
What do you mean the healthcare?
well, I mean, I'm sorry, I mean the retirement. I'm sorry, the TCDRS
it's-
may be building
From
something
my
into that.
perspective, even if they give you the amount of the employer contribution, I don't know why you couldn't add more so that you could like get your percentage of unfunded liability up.
I'm not exactly sure how that would work.
So, for
because-
example, if they're saying you're saying the employees contribute 7%, that's the max, and that our amount's like 10 point something percent, the employer contribution, because that's the amount that TML is telling you need to contribute minimum, right?
Right, TCDRS will send us a letter saying you've got to
So if you have to
contribute
do
this.
10.5%, what if we contributed an extra percent of payroll and you built it into the operating budget to move
Yeah.
you upward
And
instead
we
of
could look
trying
at
to
that
do it
as
at
we
the
go forward
end?
this next
Yeah.
budget process, we'll do that.
You could
We'll look at
budget
that.
it just like a supplemental contribution that's built into the operating budget, so you're not like
Okay,
worrying about the end. And then you don't have to deal with, I mean, well, you don't deal with like, well, we're not giving any money back to the jurisdictions from the savings. I feel like you should always return something.
yes, we do
I like that
too.
idea better. Can you put together a model of what that would?
We'll do that as we go forward to
Yeah.
the next budget process. We'll put that in so that we can see what that looks like when we do
I mean, what would
our
it cost
budget.
to add $200,000 beyond what we would be contributing normally?
Okay.
And you can just build that somewhere in the budget, you
Right.
know?
We can do that. We'll do that. We'll start working on our budget here in January, present it to you guys in March. We'll have some numbers in there regarding that. We'll meet with the committee and go over that. At that time, we meet in February with the budget committee, and then we'll have some numbers worked in.
And not everybody's going to retire in 2026, right? So.
No, no.
And then the
No,
other-
we got a lot of young people in our
The other thing,
organization.
the other question I have is that we have money for capital investments, right? We have no money for
No, ma'am.
capital.
Well, in the
Budget and strategic.
yeah, in our strategic plan, we have built in some. In the budget, we have, if something is coming up that we know about, we budget it. But we've never put a reserve for replacement or a capital reserve.
Well, that's not true. Didn't we do something for the elevator?
We did. No, we took that out of contingency.
Okay.
Did we take that out of
Okay,
the
so,
elevators? The elevators, we took out of contingency. But we waited till towards the end of the year to see how much money we were going to have. And then, of course, now we have a strategic plan where we did the lighting
Right.
out of strategic plan, which is also
so do
going to
we have
include,
money budgeted for strategic in this new year?
in the new one coming in, yes.
What did we put in there? 200? What do you remember?
Yeah, David has the budget. Yeah, last year we put it in as an encumbrance because we were just getting interest.
240,000.
So you have 240,000 actually budgeted.
Right,
Okay, and then that's in addition to like building maintenance
yes,
or just fixing things?
yes, ma'am.
Okay.
In other words, there's opportunities within the budget that we'll be able to.
Yes, sir.
And then
Yes.
you also have another contingency in the budget, right?
Yes,
Okay.
ma'am. Yeah,
Then I
based
was
on
just-
the operating expenses, it's a 10% of the operating expenses, so we do have funds in there,
Okay.
yeah. Okay,
Righty. Any other questions? We're good. Moving on to tab item 8, the chief appraiser's report. Dinah?
okey-doke. I put that on, so if you have any questions for me, and then there's no liaison report at this point, but the liaison officer is here if you need to speak with her. We are going to be advertising again for appraisal review board members because we just haven't had a big turnout for those. Would you gentlemen pass one of those? I just wanted to let the board know You wouldn't see this in the news because we did this out of what we wanted to do. But during Hurricane Harvey, one of our employees, Robert Garcia, he's one of our appraisers. He's part of a Team Rubicon, which is a group of U.S. Marine veterans, and they contacted him. They're in a Jeep group together, and they contacted him and asked if we could help out for the Harvey victims. So we used our building, and we've got pictures. We used our building as kind of a staging area. Us and a big group, Community College, KNUTO ISD, Bravo Cadillac, Home to Suites, FedEx, Univision, Ultravision, a couple of gyms, Shamali Ford, tattoo shops. We all got together, and within 3 days, this happened within 3 days, we used our building as a staging area. Then they came here and loaded up. Our guys here, our directors, were out there with shrink wrap, wrapping some of those pallets up. And we had 5 45-foot flatbed trailers, 4 semi-trailers that were totally full to the max. Just in the bottles of water alone, we had 11,000 bottles of water that were collected. So I just wanted the board to know. What was nice is our mapping department made the sign that you saw there. And we had people that drove by and went down to Albertsons and came back and made donations. Just people that were driving by. And we started this on a Tuesday afternoon, and everything was done and wrapped up by Friday. So I just want the board to know that it's one of the things that we participate in. Yeah. Right now with the appraisal district, we're in full swing on our field work. It's a reappraisal year for 2018. So we're in full swing on that. And of course, our educational courses are being offered not just for our staff that has to have them, but for other entities. We just had a law and rules update where Lower Valley Water attended. So that was a positive. We always offer that out. Our lighting upgrade is pretty much done inside. Now we'll be working on the parking lot lights, front and back parking lot lights. And that's about it, unless the board has any questions for myself or Miss Carter. She's here also. Oh yes. Thank you, David. Well, you can let him know.
I just want to let the board know that we're getting ready to send the bill file over to the city tax office on Friday. So then they can start processing so they can get the bills out in October.
Great.
Something to look forward to. Yeah.
I know all of us.
Always.
Yeah. So we're ahead of schedule on everything. So.
Any other
Thank
questions?
you, board.
If not, if there's no further business before the board, then we will adjourn. It is
Like a
now
record.
5:38.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you all. Appreciate it.
I love it.
Took me longer to get.
I'm gonna tell my wife.
You got an hour to go out.